Hi, I'm Kumail Nanjiani.
And I'm Ray Romano.
We star in a movie called The Big Sick that you're about to watch a trailer for.
Yeah, it's great. It's about a fraternity that throws the best parties. I'm the king of the frat, and I party so hard. I party the hardest.
Yeah, none of that's true.
You don't know how to market, man.
No, you can't lie to people in marketing.
Everything's a lie.
Yeah. Here's the trailer.
This was fun.
Wait, we haven't even had sex again yet.
I'm just not that kind of girl. I only have sex once on the first date. I'm just gonna call an Uber.
Your driver will be ready as soon as he puts on his pants.
Is your Batman?
Watch and learn, bye. Oh, gosh. I have to tell you something, bye. I've been dating this girl. She's white. A white girl? Hey, you can't look like you and yell white girl. It's okay. We hate terrorists.
I wonder who that could be.
I'm guessing it's a young, single Pakistani woman.
This is Zubeda.
For your files, your X-Files. That's your favorite show, huh?
The truth is out there.
Are you judging Pakistan's next top model?
You know how we have arranged marriage in my culture?
Oh my god, I'm so stupid.
Can you imagine a world in which we end up together?
I don't know. I'm looking for Emily Gardner. She was checked in tonight.
There's an infection. We put her in a medically induced coma.
Coma.
You should call her family.
Thank you, Kumail. We're gonna handle things from here.
I think I'm just gonna wait anyway.
You guys broke up. I'm not sure why you're here.
I'm just gonna stay for a second. Is this seat? Okay. Is that lady still looking at me?
So, 9/11. I've always wanted to have a conversation with people.
You've never talked to people about 9/11?
I'm still standing. I'm still
Want to do anything? You got any caller games?
No, I've
You ever play it? You can't rhyme it? You try to find a word that nobody can rhyme.
Okay.
And that-
Stonehenge.
Yeah, see, you would win.
Yeah.
If you go, then go with me.
I think I screwed up with your daughter.
Yeah, you did.
Won't you take me?
Let me give you some advice, Kumail. Love isn't easy. That's why they call it love.
I don't really get that.
I know. I thought I could just start saying something and something small would come out.
I think I'm gonna go home.
Wait. We haven't even had sex again yet.
Yeah, I'm just not that kind of girl. I only have sex once on the first date.
Wow.
It's a hand job.
Okay, well, I haven't had that.
You don't get that because you made fun of me.
What is happening? What are you doing?
I'm changing under this blanket.
I've seen everything. Do you remember we were just having sex?
Yeah, but you were like in the throes of passion then. Listen, I had a really nice time. Thank you very much. I'm just gonna like call an Uber, go home, and I hope just
Your driver will be ready as soon as he puts on his pants. It was very scary because we didn't want to mess it up, but it was very gratifying to be able to do it. But it was very emotional to have people, to watch your own story on screen, but it was very vulnerable to have other people watch it. I mean, it was every emotion.
All the emotions, yeah. Cathartic,
Name an emotion.
terrifying, sleepy.
Some of it was sleepy.
Sometimes we were sleepy. I think it actually helps to fictionalize parts of your own life because that's how it goes from being your story, which you might be quite protective of, at least I am, to being a story that is a story for everyone to kind of enjoy and for other people to weigh in on. So I think the more we fictionalized it, which we didn't do a ton, but we did do, the more it kind of felt I got enough distance from it to be able to kind of handle it like a little ball
Like
of
a
clay
thing
that we
that's
could
not
mold
part of you, yeah.
instead of being something that's from part of me. So we both kind of agreed and were on the same page about that. So we would have conversations sometimes about stuff that had been important to us in real life, and then we would discuss whether or not it meant something to the story, and it didn't always. So the process was pretty easy. We just traded scenes back and forth and wrote and then traded scenes and then wrote and traded scenes.
I approached it a little bit like how I would approach any acting job. You like look at it as a character separate from you. What are the character's problems? What does this character need to figure out? What's his journey? All that. So it really, I prepared for it like I would prepare for any part. However, playing it, it really felt like sometimes very similar to going through the actual event. Sometimes I'd be acting in a scene and I'd be like, oh my God, this feels like it felt back when it was happening. So that was a strange part that I hadn't anticipated. But the preparation was remarkably just like doing a job.
And I wasn't the person who decided on Zoe specifically, because we all, when we watched the tapes, she just was unanimously like the best person for the role. And so I was very, very happy with that decision. And so yeah, if I'd loved her and other people didn't, I would have taken a stand for her, but I didn't need to because everybody loved her and thought she was great. And as far as the parents go, never in my wildest dreams would I think we would get Holly on her. It wasn't even something I like thought to like fantasize about. So when Judd was like, well, I think we should go for Holly, I was like, okay, great idea. Have fun with that. And then somehow we got her. And same thing with Ray Romano, who is not someone that both of these actors are quite different from my actual parents. But it makes the movie so much richer and more interesting to have them there kind of giving input on their own characters and kind of creating these new people who are versions of my parents but not exactly my parents.
Well, Jed was the first one who wanted to work with us on this movie, and Barry and Jed were in the first sort of pitch meeting.
Barry works with Jed a lot. He's not part of Apatow, but he like works with.
Yeah, they're partners. It was great, I learned a lot working with them, but they also the biggest thing I learned is it's a lot of rewriting, it's a lot of work, and you just have to keep pushing yourself to do better. You can always do better. So we would think the script was done and they'd be like, no, it's not done. It's barely anything right now. So that was one thing we learned was just working over really, really hard, working the script really hard. And then with Mike, Mike has a great sense of story. He really understands how to tell story and how to get to the emotion of a scene. So that was really exciting to work with him for that reason, to just understand how intuitively he understands what should happen.
Not as much of a message for me, but I would like for people to leave the film feeling a little less alone and feeling like that something that's happened on screen, it connects to something that they've been through, even if it's not the exact same thing. So let's face it, it won't be the exact same thing. So for me, that's kind of what I hope they leave with.
So, 9/11. No, I mean, I've always wanted to have a conversation about it with people.
You've never talked to people about 9/11?
No, what's your stance?
What's my stance on 9/11? Anti. It was a tragedy. I mean, we lost 19 of our best guys.
Huh?
That was a joke, obviously. 9/11 was a terrible tragedy. And it's not funny to joke about it.
The uniqueness of the script was the first thing that I noticed. The fact that I didn't know Kumail, but my kids did, means he's hip and funny and current. And then Judd Apatow owed me money.
Yep.
No, the fact that it was going to be one of his productions, I knew what I was getting into, and it was kind. And then Holly Hunter was already cast by the time they came to me. And I said, "Did you run this by Holly?" I said, "Yeah, okay. If she's in, I'm in."
I think we should have stories about every permutation. I mean, our country is a country of mutts at this point, and I think this is one type of relationship, and hopefully, the walls come down on showing every culture in movies and TV. It's silly that there are certain people that are really underserved. I remember when we did Bridesmaids, people were like, "Oh, you never have a movie with all funny women," and I thought, really, that's kind of weird. That's 51% of our audience, and I feel that's true for people from all around the world and here. So I like it all. I think that we don't really have any type of movie we're attracted to. Just good ideas, usually emotional things. I think we like human comedies. So that was exciting, and it was fun to think about who would play these parts, because the movie doesn't work at all if it's not cast well. And when I watched it the other night at the premiere, I thought, wow, every performance is just pitch perfect, and Ray and Holly Hunter have so much chemistry. And on one hand, you might go, what a strange idea for a couple, and then you see it and you go, it's the perfect couple, and their personalities and their dynamics really feed each other, and it's really fun to watch.
There was improv where any scene that would lend itself to that, and after we had gotten what was written, we would fool around a little bit, especially with me and Kumail. Me and Kumail did a couple of scenes where, they told us to stop. They had to tell us to stop. So that was great. And the young comedians. I mean, like I say, I'm kind of out of the loop. And now that I've seen them, and I've gone on tour, and I saw Kurt, how funny he is. I got to get back in the loop. Well, I think the message is pretty obvious that family and relationships and love is bigger than any other differences we have. I think that's there without really trying to teach it or preach it. You come away with that. That's the beauty of the film is you don't even realize you're watching a love story, and there's all this going on at the same time.
I know you guys said that you don't need me to stay, but I think I'm just gonna wait anyway.
You guys broke up. I'm not sure why you're here. You don't have to worry about being committed to anything, Kumail. You didn't want to when she was awake. There's no need to do it when she's unconscious.
Well, it's more complicated than that.
You really don't have to stay, Kumail. You have already done.
I'm just gonna stay for a second. Is this seat? Okay. Is that lady still looking at me?
There's something that happens sometimes on sets where it's like, when it's a not true story, where it's like, well, it could be this, or it could be this totally other thing, or like the actor says, oh, I don't want to say those lines, I think they're stupid. Like having somebody on set who's like, no, this is a representation of my actual life, and it's precious to me. This was an incredibly traumatic experience, and I am brave enough to put it out into the world. I think it made everybody else go like, okay, let me show up. I'll be there for your story. I'll put a piece of myself in too, and now this belongs to all of us. I first met, Emily didn't come to any of the auditions to play her, because I think she knew that would be weird. And I have to say, I was very relieved when I walked into the room and she wasn't there. I had never met her, and I felt like, well, I have to flirt with this man in this audition, and this would be very odd if his wife is sitting right there watching me play her doing this.
It's true.
I met her after I was cast. They had a drinks thing set up for the three of us, so I third wheeled Kumail and Emily. We went to the Sunset Tower Hotel, which
Did you guys get hammered?
No, we did not. We all had one drink. It was very responsible. But I was like, it must be their scene. They must be like a sceney Hollywood couple. And they were like, is this your scene? And I was like, no. Like, we were all at this very fancy bar. But the second I met her, I was like, oh, I already know you. Like, she just seemed so much like someone I would already be friends with. She was wearing a shirt that I owned, and I felt like that was a really good sign. And I just fell in love with her. She's such an upstanding person. She's so smart. Her values are so good. I love her sense of justice in the world. She's someone that you really want to make laugh, because her laugh is so beautiful and infectious. And I felt like I just want to embody her spirit. I don't want to try to imitate her. I don't think it would work out that well. So I just tried to be really relaxed, be myself, and take as much of her spirit into the process as possible. And then we spent this beautiful few months with them developing the script, and us all doing research and rehearsal and improv, and Ray and Holly came on, and we all got to be together. And I think having Emily there all the time was sort of like I was saying, she became like a kind of like true north for us, like this thing that we could guide to. My favorite thing about Ray is that he's like a true gentle giant.
He's a gentle giant.
Yeah.
But don't you think that he brings that. I mean, the thing with Ray is that Ray brings his soul with him. You know, in his stand-up, and I was thinking that that's one of the reasons why Ray can make the transition from stand-up to acting so easily, is because he brings his soul to the stage when he's making everybody laugh. So it's like, well, yeah, well, he can bring his soul when he acts as well. I mean, it's just like what he can do, what he's capable of. You know, Ray knows the dark and the light from being a stand-up comic, and he can bring it to a part. So he's delightful. But I and getting to work with Zoe for me was just like a total privilege. So fun. You know, acting is so much fun. You know, it's like a really good relationship. Some relationships just suck the life out of you, and you feel like depleted. You know, and there's no more air left. And then some relationships make you feel all like vivacious and ready for more. And I kind of felt that. Well, I felt that way about you, and I felt that way about the cast.
Yeah, it was I mean, obviously for me, getting to work with Holly was like an extraordinary honor, and I've been such a fan of her work for so long that I think that there could have been a really surreal element of it, and it was it felt very personal very quickly to me, that I felt like...
But you're also an actor that you can do that with. I mean, you're very accessible, you know.
Well, I think that's very kind. I think that there was some shared spirit, and I don't know whether it came from the top or whether it was just in luck of casting, but it felt very quickly like we were all on the same page. We wanted to work in a similar way. We had a similar goal in mind. It felt very, not easy like simple, but like easy like with a lot of ease. Like felt like there was room for discussion and conversation and input, and I don't know, it was really dreamy.
Very generous, you know, a really generous environment, and people had healthy egos, but I guess healthy would be the word, because the generosity was kind of first.
Sometimes I think that it's very hard for me to think about being selfish for myself, but it's easy for me to think about being selfish for the character.
Right.
And I think that spirit was present for everybody.
Right.
Where it was like, let's do honor to each of these people, imaginary or real.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Kumail.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, we saw you perform.
Now that the niceties are out of the way, I have to tell you that when you yelled at me, it really threw me off, and you really shouldn't heckle comedians. It's so rude.
I didn't heckle you. I just woohooed you. It was supportive.
Okay, that's a common misconception. But yelling anything at a comedian is considered heckling. Heckling doesn't have to be negative.
So if I yelled out like, "You're amazing in bed," that'd be a heckle?
Yeah, it would be an accurate heckle.
Cool. Goodbye.
Oh, now you can...
I'm going.
You scared my friend off now.
When I read the script, I was just totally blown away. I had worked with Kumail. I've worked with Kumail a lot. He was, I met him ages ago as a comedian. We were both comedians in New York, and then we've toured together doing stand-up, and then he was a writer and an actor on a show that I did on Comedy Central called Michael and Michael Have Issues. Then he moved to Los Angeles. We stayed friends. I followed his career. And the movie that I did before The Big Sick is a movie called Hello, My Name is Doris that Kumail has a great supporting role in. So we kind of got to work together in the capacity as an actor and a director, and so we got to know each other that way too. And he showed me the script and said, "Hey, I wrote the script. What do you think? I'd love your feedback." It wasn't even like, "I want you to direct the movie." It was just, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. So I read it, not really you read a lot of scripts and most of them aren't great, and read it expecting, just not knowing what to think, and I just completely riveted by it. So I read it and loved that it was so funny, but also so dramatic in so many ways, that there were so many big things happening, and deals with cultural identity and ethnicity and religion and life and death and career, and called him immediately the next day and said, "Do you have a director? Would you ever consider me to direct this movie? What do I have to do?" Love stories are never going to become, people will never lose interest in love stories. I think the genre of the romantic comedy probably is in need of a little bit of like some refurbishing, and maybe The Big Sick will help with that, to kind of like remind people that when this is done well, it's a great genre that people really like. And in terms of the interracial couples, I mean, there's just lots of a lot of issues in our culture around race. And it's a huge, gigantic area that no one movie is ever gonna, ultimately solve or tackle or anything. But we just try to push the needle forward bit by bit. Working with Judd Apatow was a big deal, knowing that with him involved, the movie was gonna have greater exposure and than anything else I'd done. And then Kumail, obviously, this is his story. He's playing the lead in this movie. It's a big role where he has to, he obviously can do the comedy, but he has to do a lot of dramatic acting in this. And so both of us really wanted this to be an amazing movie, and gave 100% of ourselves. Making a movie is such a collaborative process, where you have obviously you want the cast to be as good as they can be, but then you all these different elements that are so important, the costumes and the production design and the cinematography and the editing and the music and all of those ingredients, the color, every little piece is so important. And what you try to do is you just try to create a culture and an environment where everybody feels empowered to do their best work. They all believe in the project, and that you're all willing to work a little harder and a little give a little more than you're used to, because in a sense, with a movie, you have the chance to make something that really matters to people and that really stays with people. We all have those experiences of those movies that we saw that stay with us forever. And so when I'm making a movie, that's kind of what we're going for. We're trying to make something that will be that movie that someone goes and sees and goes, I remember the first time I saw Big Sick, that's the moment that I blank, and that's what we're trying to do. So it's worth it. It's worth that extra time. It's worth those extra, the blood, sweat, and tears. It's worth it. There isn't any one message. It's a story. We're just kind of telling a story about people, and I think the takeaway is kind of whatever the audience, whatever any individual wants it to be. There's a lot going on in this movie, and I just am hopeful that people like the movie and that people feel like they've maybe we're glad to have spent time in this world, but as far as what they take away from it, that's not for me to decide.
Hey. Oh, hey. Sorry. Didn't mean to surprise you. I was just wondering, we're going to do anything? Any parlor games?
I don't. What are parlor games?
Card games? Word games? Play any word games?
No, I've
You
never.
ever play You Can't Rhyme It?
How does that go?
It's basically, you try to find a real word that nobody can rhyme.
Okay.
And then-
Stonehenge.
Yeah, see, you would win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a winner.
And one more time right here. Zoe, hold it right there. There you go. Right there, hold that. Come on, Zoe. Zoe, to your right. Just. And Holly, this way, please. And Holly, all the way this way. And.
Good?
Michael, last one real quick. Thank you, sir.
You have to yell whichever the light works best. We're not in your sight.
Too much sun, guys. What are you gonna do?
That's our only spot.
That's it?
Yeah. Got a little shade now.
Right here now, to the left. That's more than one.
Well, it's fun to be at the premiere, and we're ready to share this thing. We've got to share it at Sundance and South by, but now it's like go time. The movie's coming out in the world. I'm just kind of excited to make movies more three-dimensional and complex and lifelike, and make people feel like they're watching something that's somehow enriching because it's a little more real than what they're used to getting. In the beginning, like they would bring a draft in, and then we would criticize the hell out of it, and they'd bring another draft in, and we criticize the hell out of it. And most people get very discouraged by that. And there was a certain point pretty early on in the process where Kumail realized, like, oh, every time they do that to us, like 3 months later, the movie's better. And so he learned to like love being criticized. And I think in life, that's actually a pretty cool thing to learn.